Hi, this is Stargrace. I write for MMORequest.com, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the changes that are coming to EverQuest 2 with the release of Sentinel's Fate. The retail versions go live on February 16th, and the digital versions are coming later at February 21st, a little backwards this time around. Now, most of the expansion is for levels 80 to 90, because they're increasing the level cap. But there's a lot of changes that are going to be happening that affect everybody. It doesn't matter what level you play at. And I just wanted to touch on those so that people were aware of some of those changes and it didn't come as a surprise. One of the main changes that's coming is that they've streamlined how stats work for characters. So you know how sometimes if you're a bard you might be concentrating on strength because it determines how hard your weapons hit, or you might be concentrating on int because it determines how hard your spells hit. If you're paladin and a shadow knight, it's sort of the same thing. You kind of had to split yourself to figure out what you wanted to work on. Well, Sony's done away with that. The way it works now is if you're a scout, it doesn't matter what kind of scout you are, you're going to want to work on agility. It's going to be the stat that determines not only how hard you hit, but your power pool. If you're a priest, it's going to be wisdom, which you're used to. Wisdom already determined how much your power pool was, but you're not going to have to concentrate on int for your spellcasting anymore or your strength for how hard you hit. It's just going to be wisdom. If you're a fighter, it's going to be strength. Don't quote me on that there, because I don't play fighters in EverQuest 2, so I'm not positive about that, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be strength. And obviously if you're a spellcaster, it's int. That's not the only change they've made, and don't get me wrong, the stats are not going to be useless. Strength is just going to determine how much you can carry. Agility is going to determine your chance to avoid melee attacks. Stamina is going to increase your maximum health, and wisdom is going to improve your resistance against spell damage. So it's not going to be completely useless to work on those other things. It's just going to be less of a degree, and if you're like me and you've played a scout for 5 years and you've been concentrating on your strength, all of a sudden you're going to have to start concentrating on your agility instead. A little bit weird. On that same note, they've also gone and condensed the resistances that players had. Now remember, we used to have 6 of them, and now we have 3 of them. So we just have elemental, noxious, and arcane. Much easier to keep control of, and it cuts down some of the stats that you'd see in your gear when you look at it. They've also gone and taking all the crits that we used to have. Melee crit, you used to have ranged crit, you used to have heal crit, you used to have spell crit. They've taken all of those and now it's just called crit chance. So it's just one stat now. They've gone and combined all those numbers. For most pieces of gear that had multiple crits on it, they've taken the highest one, or they found a combination between the two and they've applied that to the gear. So they've basically revamped every single piece of gear out there and added this new crit chance to it. So basically if you're a healer and you had, 90% heal crit chance, you're now going to have 90% everything crit chance. Comes in handy. You might remember on the achievement window, we used to have a category for crits. We used to be able to increase our crits in that second row. They've taken it completely out, that whole entire row. And what they've done now is they've allowed you to increase every rank by 10 instead of by 8 to compensate for taking out that row of crits. You'll have to forgive me. Princess is here begging for my attention while I make this video. Anyways, so it's not just going to be the level 80 characters who notice this change, it's going to be everybody. Yes, Princess, that's right, everybody. At the bottom of the achievement windows, you'll see the new Sentinel's Fate achievements. They've added it to your base class line, like here it's my enchanter line, and they've also added them to my illusionist line, your subclass. They've left the shadows line alone. You won't see any changes on that one because, that was for TSO. That was the expansion that's already gone by. Alright, so those are some of the major changes that are coming. Now, some people have also asked about PvP and, what's going to happen with the gear for PvP? Are people who raid going to automatically be better than everybody else? And the answer to that is no, they're not. Because with raids comes a new stat. It's called toughness, and toughness determines how hard or how easy it is, or hard for that matter, it is for other players to hit you. So basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to wear specific sets of gear depending on what you're doing. If you're out there PvPing, you're going to want to wear your PvP gear with toughness on it so that players can't hit you that easily. The downside to that is that PvP gear doesn't have resists on it, so you're not going to go wear that to raids because you're going to get blown away by the massive AoE that's, just around the corner, as we all know. And if you're out there PvPing, you're going to want to wear your PvP gear so that it has toughness, so that players don't come along and smosh you, which they're probably going to do anyway if they run into me in there, because I am not any good at PvP. So yeah, you don't have to worry so much. All these people who are wondering about whether or not the raiders are going to have a drastic advantage over everybody else, it's not going to be that way. You're going to want to definitely keep 2 different sets of gear depending on what you're doing. Another concern was mythical weapons and whether or not they'd be relevant in Sentinel's Fate. I mean, we worked really hard to get them, or some of us have quite a collection of them these days. But you don't have to worry about that either. What Sony's done is they've taken your mythical effect, basically, like my effect for my illusionist, which is the character I'm on right now. It allows my haste buff to be group wide instead of single target, and it also gives me the ability to cast my pet without taking any concentration slots. So of course I still want that, and I don't want to have to wear this weapon forever just so I can get that effect. When your character reaches level 90, you'll be able to go and pick up a quest that will turn the effect of your mythical into a buff that you can cast on yourself. So you'll be able to turn your mythical weapon into a house item, place it in your guild hall or your home, and look at it from afar, or keep it in your appearance slot, and you won't have to worry. You'll still get the awesome effect from it, which I know a lot of people are concerned about. I'm really glad they addressed that, and it's nice to see in Sentinel's Fate. So that's basically all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about how the stats are going to be changing for everybody. Don't be too concerned about the PvP changes. Resists are condensed, achievements have been modified, and the mythical weapons. The only thing I don't like about the whole mythical thing is that you have to be level 90 in order to do that quest. So you might still want to wear it from levels 81 to, until you hit 90, and then upgrade to something else. Now, keep in mind, all of this right now is all in beta. I'm on the beta server, so you have to take everything I say with a grain of salt, and you have to be, you have to expect that it's going to change and that they're still making improvements, and things might not be this way when it goes to the live server. I realize it's not that far away from going live, but we're not quite there yet. So you have to give them a chance to keep working on things and improve on them. And hopefully everybody's looking forward to it as much as I am. I'm definitely excited about it. And until then, well, happy gaming.